Welcome to the Blue Collar Nation podcast, the podcast dedicated to making the lives of home service professionals better. Now join Eric and Larry to talk about all things home service.
Oh, it's Larry and Eric from Super Tech University. We are live here on the Super Profit community, and we're excited to be here today. Eric, how are you?
I'm great. We're having a blizzard. Finally. We haven't had any snow this year, lowest ever. So glad
Eric's
that
right out of Salt Lake, Utah in the mountains, and he's been quite dry.
very dry. But not today. We're supposed to get 3 to 4 feet this before Saturday. So,
Good. And I'm coming out in a week or two, so hopefully there'll be a ton of snow.
there you go. All right.
Absolutely. So hang on, we'll tell everybody why I'm coming out, because we have retreats. If anybody's interested in going to a business retreat or wants information about it, please put some comments. We'd love to share it with you. We get about a dozen companies that come out.
March 5th and 6th, Ogden, Utah.
Ogden, Utah. We get a lot of people, and it's a lot of one-on-one, not one-on-one coaching. What would you call it, Eric? Describe it more specifically.
Small group. So usually 20 people or fewer. And no rah-rah, no motivation. Everybody there is already motivated if they flew out. So we just sit down and work on building our skills for managing and owning businesses. It's really what we do. And we've been doing it for over a year now. We have a group in Southern California and a group in Utah, and we meet 4 times a year. And it's been really great. And it's really rewarding for you and I. And Katie Harris, who wrote the book with me, she's our co-instructor. That's awesome.
The companies are much more profitable than when they started coming. It's benefiting them dramatically. The feedback we get is wonderful. I was just talking to Logan. He's outside of in Orange County, California, and he's just killing it. And I was so happy. And he came to us, and he wasn't. I don't know if I was struggling.
I wasn't struggling, but he wasn't going where he wanted to go with it. I think that's probably the best way to put it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Just like a lot of us, we get kind of stagnant and need a little help to get to the next level.
Yeah. So, and that's what this does. So if anybody's interested, put a comment and we can share some information with you. And Eric, what's the topic today? I only posted 4 or 5 times. You tell me.
Well, you call it something. I mean, job conduct, but I prefer the theater of business in a lot of ways. And we're only going to do half, Larry, because it's a big topic, right? And it's something that people don't spend probably enough time working on, especially with younger employees who might not have some of the life skill or training of how to give back that amazing 5-star service experience. I want to talk about some of that because, like, even if you're an owner or manager, which a lot of the people on are, like, we might forget that we had to learn all this stuff too, but it was just a long time ago, or our parents taught us or whatever.
Let me just jump in real quick, because when we say we're wowing clients, it's very cliche. Everybody wows their clients, wow their clients. But I like how you phrase it as the theater of business, because that changes your mindset. It makes you stop and think, we're on stage the whole time, from the second we answer that call to the second that we walk to the door, do the walkthrough, finish the job, a follow-up call. It's all theater 100% of the time. So I like how you presented this, and it resonates with many of the people that we know.
Yep. So yeah, let me get into that a little bit. We're gonna go through half this week and half next, Larry. So basically, we're gonna take from when we're getting dispatched to go to a call to the point where we're gonna enter the house, and then after next week we'll do once we're in the house and what happens there, right? So this is up to the point where we enter the front door, right? So first thing is you got to have a pre-arrival checklist of some sort, right? Like most of us are winging that. I don't want to wing that, and I certainly don't want to wing that with people who don't have a ton of experience doing this. My 20, 22, 23-year-olds, right? Like I want them to do the same thing every time. This is part of the theater, right? What does an actor or an actress have? A script and lines, and they read them, right? So
System over and over and over.
Yeah, I mean, All it is a system, right? So like our pre-arrival checklist was the first thing for us was the pre-call, right? We are going to call and say that we're on our way and give a estimated arrival time. Technicians don't always love doing that, but we really preach that because that's a time to make the client more comfortable. That's a time to introduce yourself. They're going to feel better about us because now they know, oh, okay, they're 25 minutes away, right? I can be ready for that. And then you and I put a little twist on it. We used to have Starbucks cards in every van, and everybody was instructed to say, hey, Larry, I'm on my way. I'm 25 minutes out. I'm thinking I'm going to stop by Starbucks. Do you want anything? Right? Why? Well, that's the law of reciprocity. If I offer you something first, you're going to feel compelled to offer me something later, right? That might be a 5-star review. That might just be liking my guys, right? That's a great way to get the ball rolling because now all of a sudden they like our people better because we just offered them something small. And the reality is, very few people take it, but 100% of the people are like, wow, that was nice, right? So we're trying to do something good before we ever go, right? So we're going to do a pre-call. We're going to offer them something for law of reciprocity. We are going to be in a clean and branded vehicle, right? We want to look the part, right? Uniform clean, grooming on point. Like we had a checklist. The guys had to check these things, right? Shoe covers in hand, ready to go before we enter a house, right? Clipboard, tablet. And then we wanted to make sure that our guys are doing all of these. The pre-call, we taught them where to park, right? Are we going to pull in the driveway? No, we don't own the driveway. They own the driveway. So we're going to park on the street. If we need to get in the driveway to do the work later, we can ask, but we're going to park out on the street first. Larry, you're muted.
That was one of the biggest things that people had issues with because our guys would park in the driveway and block Mr. and Mrs. Jones wanting to go out to work or wanting to come back in, and they'd be irritated. And that's a negative moment of truth. And you want to do anything you can to avoid, because you could do 10, 20 great things, and then you do something like that, and then they don't want you coming back. And it's just not worth it.
Look, I mean, it goes even deeper than that. You go to certain houses and they might have $50 to $75,000 worth of paving stones laid down. They don't know if your van leaks oil, right? They do not want your car in your van in their driveway, right? So, so we're basically going to make a pre-call. We're going to be there at the time that we said. Now, I used to teach the guys, like if we had a job and we were actually early, don't show up. Don't go ring the doorbell 10 minutes before your
Don't
arrival
even
time.
pull up in front 10 minutes.
No,
Not even in front of the
I would
house.
just say, look, just park a few blocks away and pull up at the time you're supposed to be there, right? Because they might be getting ready or they're not ready for you. And all of a sudden, what happens? Now that homeowner's stressed, right?
Yeah. You want
They need to put the dog away. They need to get their kid, whatever. They're not fully dressed yet. We don't want to show up early. We want to show up on time. And then, there's the theater of what do? We don't cut across their lawn, right? That's a big no-no. Nobody likes that. We're going to walk down the sidewalk. If we see a newspaper in the driveway, we're instructing our people to pick it up and hand deliver it to the front door. And now we're at the front door. Uniform on, smelling good, looking good, clipboard, iPad, whatever, business card, ideally. And I'm going to ring that doorbell and take a couple steps back and give that person some space, right? Nobody likes to be crowded in Western culture, arm's length, about 3 feet. People don't want to be any closer than that, and so we have to make sure that we're doing that. So we're going to ring the doorbell, right? Every single one of these small things adds up to a big positive moment of truth for the client, right? Those things all feel good. They feel professional, right? So now client comes to the door. They're going to open the door, right? Ideally, we're now training our people to look that client in the eye, have a smile on their face, introduce themselves, right? And look, I mean, Larry, you and I do a lot of Gen Z training. A lot of younger folks have spent the majority of their life staring into a phone. Face-to-face communication needs to be practiced. That's something that we were role playing back at the shop. That was something I was role playing as a 15-year-old kid when I was cleaning swimming pools. In 1983 or whatever, Dick Chrisman had me standing in the warehouse pretending to ring a doorbell and talk to him like I would talk to one of the clients. Right? We want to be practicing these things, right? I'm going to step back and give them space. One of the things that you and I did was we had Matt roll out 3x3 mats with our name on them, with our logo. So the guys would roll out a logo mat, stand on that mat, because logo facing the client, because when we put our shoe covers on, we want to show them that we're actually standing on the mat and not on the dirt or the concrete or whatever, right?
That you got, I didn't even like them. You bought them, you spent a bundle on them, but I think it paid off in the long run because it got the guys to put the booties on. It was like a trigger for them, and it worked
So
really well.
you didn't like the mat, or you didn't like that I spent money on it?
They were expensive at the time, and we were just started. And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa!
No,
Kids are
no,
hungry. They need some shoes."
it
And we
was
got
the right
mats.
thing to do. It was the
Yeah,
right
well,
thing
they
to do.
lasted forever. I mean, how long did they last? I mean, at least
10
5 or 6 years
years?
each.
No, more,
Did we have the
more than
same
that.
ones the whole time?
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep.
So that investment
Yep.
was well worth.
Yeah. And then once I'm at the door and the person answers, and our team members looking him in the eye, giving a kind and excited, right? You want to show some excitement that you're excited to serve them too. Don't have them, oh, Eric Shamrock, good to see you, right? We want that to be a positive experience. And now comes the moment of truth, right? I'm going to stand there, neutral stance. I'm not going to stand with my arms crossed, looking aggressive or whatever. I'm going to have, hands down at the sides. I don't want to scare the clients away. Do an introduction. And then for us, if it was a male technician and a male homeowner, our guy would stick his hand out to shake his hand to introduce. However, if it was a male technician with a female homeowner, our guys were instructed to do nothing unless the female homeowner stuck her hand out, then they could shake it, right? Because a lot of times female clients didn't want to shake the hand of one of our technicians or touch it if there's a male. And we wanted to be respectful of that, right? So, those first impression clues, it's like we want our guys to be calm. We want them to give direct eye contact. We want them to have a smile. We want them not to rush, right? Get to know that person. Right? First impressions are everything. Everything that they're going to think about us from that first couple seconds onward. We have a chance to make a great impression at the front door, and anything below that, they're wondering if they made the right decision. Right? What does that mean? Well, if they're wondering that means they're not going to trust us while we're working in the house. They're definitely not going to probably buy more services than they originally thought. We're probably not going to get a 5-star review. They're probably not going to refer their friends. The ripple effect of not wowing them prior to getting into the house is big. I think if you can win that first interaction, you probably can win the whole job. You agree with that, Larry?
And I agree. And when you explain it that way to the team that's going out to the house, to the individuals, like, oh, I don't want to deal with people, and they're kind of negative and they're not into it. They'd rather just do the fix. Explain to them, if you make a connection with Mrs. Jones and she's happy, your job's going to be easier. She's not going to be standing over your shoulder. She's not going to be asking you silly questions. When you explain it, she's going to trust your judgment. And it's so much easier. We've all been there with what was that guy's name in Claremont that you kept bumping into him? Otto, or what was his name with the wand? You kept bumping into him because he was standing next to you the whole job.
Elroy, like the
Elroy.
Jetsons.
Yeah. Do.
Yeah,
Elroy
right.
was on Eric's.
Perfect example, right? Thank you, Larry. I forgot all about that. So when Larry and I were new, and I wasn't super confident because we were new to carpet cleaning. I'd been in home services a long time, but I went in and I didn't make a great first impression because I was green, and the client didn't fully trust me. So he stood over my shoulder for every second of the 3 hours that I worked. Every second. In fact, as I would pull the carpet wad back, my elbow would hit him in the chest almost every time. He was so, but what I realized later on as I became more experienced was I hadn't instilled the confidence in that client to get them to say, I don't need to be here. This person knows what they're doing. Right. And I probably could have done that with a little bit more front door theater, like we're talking about, to instill some confidence. So the other part, Larry, I want to talk about is the visual aspect of this, right? We talked about the wrap truck, right? That's a positive moment of truth, right? Like, you know, if you look out the window and you see the old broken down jalopy with like a magnet or no or nothing at all or whatever, it looks very fly by night. So that's not going to instill confidence. And then how our team looks, whether they're in a nice clean uniform and their shoes are dusted off, and look, we're in home service. It doesn't need to be perfect at every step of the way, but look, most good companies, and you and I deal with a lot of good companies, their people look good. Their people look a notch above everybody else, right? So part of the visual theater is making sure that our team looks the part. And, I think also, like I know this from us, when we got really good uniforms and we consistently talked about why looking good mattered. I remember I used to get calls from team members. They'd be at the gas station to see our competitors, and they'd call me up and be like, "Boss, I'm at the mobile station, and you ought to see this guy, and you ought to see with their uniforms, or they don't even have uniforms." What did we do? We got them to be proud of working for us, right? And that's half the battle, right? That means they want to be there. So, I think we have to make sure that as we, with the shoe covers and the mats and, our look and our vehicles, all of those things add up to creating a great service experience for that client. And then the last thing, Larry, because I know we try to keep these short on Tuesdays, but the last thing is I think it's a critical moment, and I learned this fast. So, like a lot of times when you go introduce yourself and everything seems good, right? And then that homeowner just kind of turns around and starts walking to whatever they want to show the technician. That's a great way to let the homeowner know that they're in complete control of their home, right? So that we would instruct everybody to say, "Oh, excuse me, Larry, is it okay if I enter the home?" Right? Opposed to just going, right? Just that little action of asking if it's okay to enter lets that person know that they're in charge, it's their house, and you recognize and appreciate that fact. Like I think that little one thing, just asking permission to come in, is huge. And not many people do it. It is. I used to tell our guys all the time, Larry, in meetings. You remember this? I'd be like, "Guys, look, this is their home, not our job site. We have made zero mortgage payments on this house. Right? Like, don't forget whose place this is. Just because we're going to be working here for a while doesn't mean that we're in complete control." And I think if we can do those things, it shows the homeowner great respect, and it shows how thoughtful we are, because most homeowners or business owners, when they come to have us work, they don't really judge us on how well we do the actual trade, because they don't have a gauge for that. Like they think every plumber can plumb and every HVAC tech is equally good and every carpet cleaner is the same. We all know that's not true, but to them, that's the perception. So what they do is they judge us on the things that they know and understand, and how we talk to them, how we look at them, how we act in their home. Those are the things that separate the great companies from everybody else. So,
And that's what all these
there,
companies that are is with these companies that are super successful. They have the phone ringing on a regular basis. They get a lot of repeats and referrals and the reviews They're training these skills.
Yeah.
And this is what we have found helps the most. I mean, we have a client that all he did was focus on this for the whole year. And he's near Christina and Roderick. He's in Colorado on Greeley. All he did was focus on this 100% was his service and the theater business, and he doubled his business. Maybe not doubled, 80%. He did amazing. And it's something that can change your business by focusing on training these things. And
Yeah.
we got to keep the lights on here at SuperTech University. So a short plug, SuperTech University trains these skills. I mean, you could focus on your team every single day and give them a lesson like Eric does with SuperTech University on how to do these things, how to do the theater business, having the confidence to do it, having the procedures, policies, and how to make it happen, how to have a system. You could do that like Eric did years ago and like we do right now, but you might as well just get a membership at SuperTech University, get your team up to speed. And there's my plug for SuperTech. And it's wonderful to see everybody as yourself, Eric. And it's nice to see everybody that came in today.
Thank you for listening to the Blue Collar Nation podcast. For more information about Eric and Larry and SuperTech University, please visit us at supertechu.com. That is supertechu, the letter U.com.